Okay, we're good now.
Okay, no worries. That actually goes with my reminder. We are being live streamed this evening on the city's YouTube channel. And I'll remind everyone to please, at this time, silence your cell phones if you haven't already. Also, when making public comment this evening, we ask that you come to the podium. You begin by stating your name and the block of your residence, and also limit comments to no longer than 3 minutes in length. For those who are willing and able, please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. We'll move to the roll call of members. Mr. Harris.
Yes, Madam Vice President. Mr. Arroyo.
Here.
Ms. Bakay.
Here.
Mr. Colexi. Ms. Craig.
Here.
Ms. Diaz.
Here.
Ms. Walsh.
Here.
And President Smith-Waddell.
Thank you, Mr. Harris. Council President Smith-Waddell and Councilor Kalik have been excused for this evening's meeting. We'll go on then to the approval of the minutes for the meeting of February 8th, 2022.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Are there any council comments? Hearing none. Mr. Harris.
Mr. Arroyo.
Aye.
Ms. Bakay.
Aye.
Ms. Craig.
Aye.
Ms. Diaz.
Aye.
Ms. Walsh.
Aye.
Thank you. We'll move then to proclamations, honors, awards, and resolutions of recognition. Do we have any of those this evening?
We do not.
Thank you. That takes us right along into our first public comment period, reserved for citizens who have contacted the city clerk prior to the meeting. Do we have any public comment this evening?
We do not.
Thank you, Mr. Harris. That takes us to reports requested by council. Do we have any of those this evening?
We do not.
Thank you, Mr. Harris. The next item is interim reports of committees of council. Do we have any interim reports of committees of council?
We do not.
Thank you. All right. That moves us into our legislative agenda for this evening, in which we have one item. We have resolution number 15. Mr. Harris.
A resolution of the Council of the City of Lancaster, Pennsylvania, authorizing revision of the reimbursement agreement with the Pennsylvania Department of Transportation's Transportation Alternatives Program for the Conestoga Pines Pedestrian and Bicycle Connection Project.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second on the resolution. This is listed as being introduced by Council President Smith-Waddell, and I believe that we'll have Mr. Hopkins here this evening that will speak to us about this resolution. Is that correct? Okay.
Good evening, Council. I'll try to keep this brief. This is really, I guess from our perspective, more of a housekeeping issue. We have, in 2019, City Council approved a reimbursement agreement between the city and PennDOT for a total grant funding of $962,378 for this Conestoga Pines pedestrian and bike connection project. The actual cost of the project has gone slightly over that. PennDOT has agreed to reimburse us for the overage, the amount over the 962. To accept that money, they need us to adopt a resolution to amend the grant agreement with PennDOT, which you all are familiar with PennDOT, so this shouldn't seem too unusual to you. So the total that PennDOT has agreed to reimburse us up to now is $1 million even, so just a little under $40,000 less than, little under $40,000 than over what the original grant amount was. So all they're requiring us to do is have the City Council adopt a resolution to authorize the mayor to sign the reimbursement, the amended reimbursement agreement.
Thank you, Mr. Hopkins.
Sure.
Are there any comments or questions from council? Any comments from the public? Hearing none. Mr. Harris.
Mr. Arroyo,
Aye.
Ms. Beke,
Aye.
Ms. Craig,
Aye.
Ms. Diaz,
Aye.
Ms. Walsh.
Aye.
Thank you very much. That takes us into our second public comment period for this evening. This is open for comments on items not already on the agenda. I'll remind anyone who wishes to give public comment to please do so at the podium and begin by stating your name and your block of residence, and comments are limited to no longer than 3 minutes. We'll take public comment at this time. Good evening.
My name is Angie Teal, and I live in the 4th block of North Marion Street. I'm here tonight to talk to you about a nuisance bar in our neighborhood. It is Brandy's. I'm sorry, I'm
Sorry,
pretty,
just turn.
I'm pretty.
Thank you.
Anyway,
Not maybe.
it's Brandy's at the corner of West Lemon and North Mary. And Brandy's has been a long-time established pub in the city, and I'm sure it has a very colorful and interesting past. My husband and I moved to downtown Lancaster. We're proud Lancaster downtowners. I'm sure you're familiar with the downtowners, but we're very proud downtowners, and we are huge proponents of the city. And we moved in right before COVID came. So it was winter and it was quiet, and then we had COVID and everything was blissful. And then May a year ago, things opened up, and so did Brandy's. And since then, we have had months worth of calls to the police, sometimes 2 and 3, sometimes 4 times a week. The issues are fights, arrests, drinking on the sidewalk, excessive noise. In front of our house, we've observed vomiting, public urination, illegal parking in front of a fire hydrant, broken bottles, blood trails on the sidewalk, patrons urinating on our property frequently and in other properties in the vicinity. A ton of trash, garbage use, drunk drivers, blocking emergency vehicles on the corner of North Mary and Spruce Street, where there's a no parking here to corner sign, which keeps emergency vehicles, including ambulances and fire trucks, from being able to enter Spruce Street in case there would be an emergency. Neighborhood parking issues, impaired quality of life. The kitchen staff leaves the side door on Mary Street open, and they're prone to singing, dancing, and making all kinds of noise, including emptying the trash, which is mostly bottles, at up to 4 o'clock in the morning. The door staff are rude and disrespectful, and I believe there is a combination of underage drinking, drug dealing, and prostitution going on, as well as general noise and disruption of quality of life of what I consider to be the whole block. I have reached out to the owners of Brandy's up to 5 times in person and also via email. I have spoken with Bernie from, not that Bernie, the other Bernie, the mayor's, well, they're all the mayor's Bernies, but the nice
Bernie.
lady who's named Bernie from the mayor's office. I've spoken with Jess King. I've spoken with at least 10 police officers and have asked and pleaded for somebody to do something. And nothing has happened, and I have enough documentation, which I have sent to a variety of police officers, including Sergeant Gerace, who has a full delineation of this, as well as Bernie, the other lady, the lady, Bernie, not you, and just everybody that I can, a couple council people also. And I just wonder if you can tell me if there's anything that can be done about this. Like, are you aware of this, for starters? No, sorry.
Thank you very much. If you could, ma'am, leave your information with our Bernie, Mr. Harris,
Okay.
this evening, just so I can make sure I have a way to reach out to you, and if there's anything additional that I find out.
Thank you very much. I appreciate your time.
Thank you. Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Scott Seuss, 300 block of North Queen Street. I'd just like to follow up on her comments. We have a similar problem, which I know one of the other people on Queen Street has brought to this council's attention several times, and we've also talked to the mayor and whatnot. And again, it goes to nuisance bars. And there's not anything being done to shut them down. And I have to wonder if there's actually a will in the city to do it. The club, in our instance, does not have a BYOB permit that we're aware of, even though we've asked. It's the whole purpose of the BYOB permit. So they have BYOB, and they're open all night till 5, 6 o'clock in the morning. I've addressed it with the mayor and said you need to find out why the BYOB ordinance is irrelevant, not being enforced. And also, I believe that the ordinance for disruptive conduct only applies to residential residences and not commercial leases in residential neighborhoods. And I've asked the mayor to have a meeting to discuss this, but I think we need to look at the ordinances. Disruptive conduct, BYOB, health inspections. It's not fair to the people that live in residential neighborhoods to have to put up with this. I mean, you've been calling your police. The mayor's told us if the bar is too high to close these places down. So if the bar is too high to close down, it's obviously a problem. And the council needs to address resolutions and laws and ordinances to give them some teeth to do something about it. So I bring it to your attention once again. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Good evening.
Good evening. Arthur Morris, 400 block of West Chestnut Street. Just two things. I think it was January the 11th that council, I think, passed a resolution regarding the new 14 firefighters. And you mentioned in that meeting that a number of people lived in the city or went to McCaskey or went to Stevens School. And a gentleman, African-American gentleman, got up after it and said that that's all well and good, but, can you tell me about the numbers of people of color? And council was unable to answer that, and the mayor couldn't answer it. And I'm wondering and there was a promise to get that information. I followed the other meetings and I haven't seen it said, and maybe I missed it. So do you have that information that could be made available either now? Because there was a promise, I'm pretty sure at the January 11th meeting to do that. And then the second thing I want to mention is I've asked for the process that was used by the city in transferring $995,000 to HDC. I have received information on the agreements, on the conditions that were attached to the sale, but I've not heard anything from the city regarding the process. What made the city pick HDC? Was there an RFP? Was there some selection process? Was there some formal way of determining that HDC would be your partner? And I would like an answer to that, if possible. Whether you can do it tonight or some other time, I'd like to know. Again, I'm not looking for the sales agreement or the conditions of sale, because they came after you selected the partner to be HDC. And what I'm asking, I think it's clear, is how did you select them? What process did you use to select them? I don't know if you have an answer to the first question.
I do.
You do.
I do. So thank you for allowing me to also, I knew we had received it after the meeting. So I don't have anything for your second, and I will certainly look into that for you. But we did receive information after that meeting from, at the time, Chief Scott Little. Of the new hires, 11 of them were white, 1 was Hispanic, 1 was black, and 2 did not identify themselves.
Thank you very much.
I'd like to make a correction.
Sure, please.
It's actually 2 Latinos, because there was one that was entered, what date was that?
The next day, next meeting, I think.
Yes, it was the next meetings that he was actually appointed then to move forward for the training.
I did see
Correct.
that. Thank you
Yes.
very much.
Thank you, and thank you, Councilor Diaz. Are there any other public comments this evening? Good
Good
evening.
evening. My name is Irene Grievous, and I'm on the 900 block of Manor Street. I have a couple questions, actually. The first question is, how many properties in the city of Lancaster have been condemned and that are owned by minorities? Does anyone have an answer to that?
I do not have that immediately available.
Even if it's not for this evening, maybe the next meeting, I would like to know how many properties have been condemned in the city of Lancaster. The second question is, of the number of condemned properties that have been condemned in the city of Lancaster, has any of the property owners been able to retrieve their property back without opposition from the city, or making it nearly impossible from the city in getting their properties back? I would like an answer to that as well, not necessarily at this meeting, but the next. And I guess my last question is I believe through the redevelopment, next phase of the redevelopment is Manor Street on the list for redevelopment to revitalize Lancaster? Or I believe that's on the list of the next phase for redevelopment.
By whom specifically? Just to help answer
I
a question.
believe through the city of Lancaster.
Okay.
They're forcing, or they're,
I don't have any specific information on that at this time, Ms. Grievous.
Quick question, is there a possibility that maybe we can speak with Delph and see what he can come up with? I know that there's a
Very beginning of
list.
that, I'm sorry.
Pardon me?
I missed the very beginning of what you said, so Dia, sorry.
To see if Mr. Delph would be able to provide that information. 'Cause I'm sure
Potentially.
he will be able to get the whole list.
Potentially, yes.
and in condemnation, who authorizes? Is there any kind of oversight? Is it up to one specific individual or a certain number of people that make that choice? Or is it a free will to just condemn someone's property?
So I think we're verging a little bit on some areas that we've spoken about that we aren't able to talk directly with you about at this point because of ongoing litigation, that we won't be able to kind of proceed at that line of questioning.
It's just a general question. Who's involved with approving someone's property being condemned? That's basically, does it go through a number of people, or does it go up the certain steps before it gets to that point? Or,
I can certainly point you in the right direction for some resources on procedure, and see if we could do anything else to get you some answers to these questions that don't pertain to your property.
oh, that's fine. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other public comments this evening? Hearing none, that would normally take us to the report of the mayor. Mayor Sirachi was not able to be here this evening, and I don't have any report from her this evening. That would then take us to the report of the president of council. And he did not have any specific report for me to give on his behalf this evening. And that would bring us to the reports of other members of council. Are there any other reports from council this evening? I do have just one general report. It's actually the reason why Councilor Smith-Waddell was not able to be here this evening. He is arranging, and I will be taking part in tomorrow, the point-in-time count to document and count our unsheltered folks here in the city, which is extremely important work. It's something that I haven't done personally before, but I'm very much looking forward to doing. And it is important because it allows us to understand our unhoused population, make sure that we're giving them the resources that they need, and also that those resources come into our community. So we'll be doing that tomorrow, and I just wanted to make sure everyone was aware that it was happening. If there are no further reports from council, I will hear a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.